Oh, wrong one.
Have you ever heard something that wasn't really there? Or had racing thoughts that you couldn't control? How about an all-permeating feeling of joy in your body? Or the uncontrollable urge to fall flat on your face? Well, you're not alone. In October of 1858, the Royal Library in Stockholm bought a nondescript little book discovered in the library of a professor who had died a few years before. But the book didn't belong to the professor. It had actually been written 100 years earlier by a scientist who, at that time, just happened to be going through a major spiritual awakening. And in that journal he kept, through his descriptions of his dreams, dark nights of the soul, and even his physical symptoms, we get a front row seat, a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to open to an entirely new dimension of reality. So what does it look like? What does it feel like? And can we use it to recognize these same changes in ourselves? We're going to check it out tonight. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Swedenborg and Life. Today we're going to be looking at 10 early signs of a spiritual awakening, and I'm going to do that with you. My name is Curtis Childs, and I'm the host. And we're going to be looking at a spiritual awakening today, specifically the spiritual awakening of Emanuel Swedenborg. And what is cool about Swedenborg in general, or one of the things that is cool about Swedenborg, is how well documented his stuff is. All the stuff after his awakening, all of his travels and his journeys and his interactions and his discoveries, but even the awakening itself, we find, luckily for us, a play-by-play that he wrote while he was going through it. So we're going to take that journey tonight, and we're going to see him go from being a very successful with it, practicing, publishing scientist to becoming a very with it, practicing, publishing mystic or revelator or whatever you want to call him. But in the middle, where we're going to look at now, things get a little bit wild. It seems like there's this collapse, there's this major period of upheaval as he sort of births into this spiritual world. And we're going to take a look at how it happened in him, and you're going to notice.
Okay.
So I want you guys all to understand. See, now he started a dream journal, and I tell everybody, do this. Dream journals will really, the dark night of the soul, you see how he said that? That's very important to listen to these things, because when I talk about a spiritual awakening, you will go through a dark night of soul. And now go up to number 10, because they're just going to talk about how he kept the dream journal, how he documented all of this stuff step by step. They explain about him, which is not really important in this situation. So fast forward, you're going to see number 10, the number 10, start from there. So the dark night of the soul, Yari's asking, what is that? The dark night of the soul is when you're learning about your shadow self. I think I said this before with the shadow work. This is where you're exploring the darkness in yourself so that you can release it into the light. In order for you to get to the light, you have to, it's all right if you're late. In order for you to get to the light, you have to explore your dark side. Okay, so that's what everybody who's going through a spiritual awakening has to do. There's steps to it. So you explore the dark night of the soul. That's why it's important to write the dreams and write all this stuff, because of everything. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat and I got distracted. Because of everything that you're going through, you have to explore all of you. So even the dark night of the soul would be shadow work, which is somebody who really looks at their dark side to explore it so that they can push it into the light. Because we all we're all born with the shadow side and we're born with the light side. So that's where you have to work with your shadow side in order to get yourself to the light. So fast forward it to the part where they start, like number 10, it starts, and they explain it, so it's really good. And then when I say pause, that you could pause it.
Okay, let's see. Where's number 10?
Go up a little bit, like go fast forward a little. You'll see you'll see number 10.
Okay, number 8, number 7.
Go back.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Starts off 10. Yeah.
All right. Right there. Okay, let me share my screen. 1 second. All right.
Okay, if you just came in, we're watching 10 Signs of an Early Spiritual Awakening. This is Swedenborg in Life, and he's explaining the 10 signs of a spiritual awakening. We're just talking about the dark night of the soul and exploring your shadow self so that you can get to the light.
A night.
Yeah.
You know, some of us at our best can remember one or two, that kind of thing. And he knew all that he dreamed, but he was also having thoughts, and his thoughts seemed to be stuck. They were bound.
Right.
And that was what was causing him to sweat. It wasn't the physical temperature in the bed or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
He was sweating about the state of his thought, and he knew what he was dreaming. So you already see a little hint of different states of consciousness there.
Right. Yeah, so that was somehow distressing his body enough that there was actually physical perspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see sort of intense swing of emotions there. And,
Yeah.
And if it gets intense enough, you'll run into number 9. Oh, wait. We
got another 10 quote, don't we?
Yeah. Let's
That's
not
right.
go to number 9 yet. I forgot. This is an important piece of the puzzle. So
That's
this is from the Journal of Dreams, number 71. Yeah, which I totally said out of order. But if you'll forgive me, this last temptation. Oh yeah, because it's just sort of giving you more perspective on the sweating thing.
That's right.
This last temptation.
Let me redo it because it's being annoying right now.
So yeah, when they talk about this a little bit, and I say pause, that means go to number 9, okay? And try to start from the beginning on number 9, because the sweating is means that when you start to do the shadow work, you might be having dreams or
10 quote, don't we?
Yeah. Let's not go to number 9.
Intense dreams where you wake up sweating. There we go. Okay.
All right, starting it again. Number 9, you said now, right?
Yeah, if you can make the screen all the way big for them to see them, if you can.
Or number 9.
No.
Weeping.
Let him
All right,
talk
so we
about
have
it.
another,
You see that? Right there?
sim-
Let him talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Go back. Right there, up to that part where they're, yeah. Go a little bit further back, a little bit. Right there. Okay, open it. Because this is important, but the dream is what's going to happen when
you'll run into number 9. Oh wait,
we got another 10 quote, don't we?
Yeah. Let's
That's
not
right.
go to number 9 yet. I forgot. This is an important piece of the puzzle. So
That's
this is from the Journal of Dreams, number 71.
Perfect.
Yeah, which I totally said out of order. But
What's
if you'll forgive me, this last temptation. Oh yeah, because it's just sort of giving you more perspective on the sweating thing.
That's right.
This last temptation. Now, temptation is a Swedenborgian term where he uses to describe spiritual struggles.
Yes,
was more
trials
severe,
and so on.
Right. Was more severe than the former in this respect, that it reached to the innermost. But over against this, I received a yet stronger evidence of the spirit. For at times I broke into a perspiration. What then came up in my mind was no longer anything that could condemn me, for I had the strong confidence that it was forgiven me, but that I should excuse myself and set myself free. Was all that? Was he
Yeah, you can see that again. There's this sense of, am I salvable? Am I not? He's
having crisis.
He seems worried about this. Yes,
Yeah.
It's a spiritual crisis, which is another way of expressing temptation. And you see that it seemed as though that very situation was causing him to perspire.
Yeah,
He was sweating from the spiritual struggle.
And it's somewhat centered on his pride, like he was seeing things in himself that he was really coming up against in this.
And yet he found himself able to forgive himself. So there's a lot of different moods in each of these little quotes. There's a lot going on.
It's the up and the down. And this is what I was thinking of before, because he experiences these extremes and they can bring about the symptom that's in number 9, which is weeping. All right, so we have another symptom involving the release of water.
You want to say something?
I was just going to say, you see how he's talking about forgiving himself? In between, I'll just talk so you guys can understand. Forgiving yourself during this process is the number one thing you're going to have to do. Because even though we think we have other people only to forgive, we actually want to forgive ourselves for a lot of things we may have done. It could be anything. It doesn't matter what it is. The forgiveness in yourself is important, because in order for you to forgive others, you got to first forgive yourself. And in order for God to forgive you, you have to forgive yourself. That's it. Okay, keep going.
Okay.
And this is also something people can do, but when you see the source of why he's weeping, you can see the difference. And we want to read a dream that he had to you. We got Dr. Jonathan Rose to read it. And this is him describing a series of events in the night that led to some of this spiritual awakening-induced weeping. So this is from his Journal of Dreams, number 36.
I experienced nothing the whole night, although I repeatedly woke up. I thought everything was past and gone, and that I was forsaken or driven away. Towards the morning, it seemed to me I was riding, and the direction was shown to me, but when I looked, it was dark, and I found I'd lost my way on account of the darkness. But then it lightened up, and I saw that I had gone wrong. I saw the road, and the forests and groves to which I should travel, and behind them, the sky. I awoke. There came then a thought, as it were spontaneous, about the first life, and in consequence, about the other life. And it seemed to me everything was full of grace. I fell a-weeping because I had not been loving, but rather had offended him who has led me and shown me the way even unto the kingdom of grace, and that I, unworthy one, have been received into grace.
Again, this theme of unworthiness comes up.
That's right. He's weeping with this sense of like, God has been so good to him.
Right.
There's an interesting reference in there to his first life and then the
Second.
Pause that. Okay, guys. All right, so is everybody interested so far? Are we understanding what's going on, or we're like, this is stupid, what are we doing?
Let me unmute everybody. Hold on. 1 second. Manage participant. This is Marisol's coming in.
Okay.
All right, I'm figuring out how to unmute everybody.
We could press the buttons ourselves if people see it on the left corner.
Okay.
So I wanted to know.
It's all in the comments. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to watch the video while y'all keep typing down here. What's going on?
Okay, so look. So now I'm going to tell you guys. Listen, I hope you guys are interested in this because this will really show you a lot. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I went through these exact steps to get to the place that I am today. Okay, so what happened was while this happened, all the crying and the dreaming and the sweating and all that, this is a very important part because I felt like I was not worthy of the things that I was receiving today. I didn't feel worthy. When you don't feel worthy, you can't receive the gifts that you want out of life. You understand? You start to think, I'm not good enough for that. Like God's not going to give me that opportunity. I'm not worthy. And this is what he's talking about. So we could fast forward the weeping part and the unworthiness part and then go to number 8 and see what they talk about next. And I'll just chime in every one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and what is that just life in this physical world, and then after death, it's not sure,
Or is it like before and hearing noises?
Yes.
Okay. So anybody
and not
can
just noises like that.
Yeah.
Wonderful effect there.
Anybody can hear noises, but we're talking about supernatural noises.
Supernatural. Yes, it seems as though his senses started to become. Now, sensation is tricky because you think of it as being physical,
right?
Like hearing is a physical thing, and yet he starts, as you'll hear in these in this quote, that he starts to hear things that are of a non-physical nature, even very powerful sounds.
Yeah.
And so it seems like these inner senses, this inner hearing, is opening up.
And because that's a huge part of Swedenborg's spiritual experiences after all this is over, is that he says his inner sight was opened.
Right.
Our channel name off the left eye, it's like all about the opening of the spiritual senses.
So many titles say things heard and seen,
right?
You know, that he's hearing and seeing in that other world.
So is this the beginning of that? We're going to see. This is another reading from Swedenborg's Journal of Dreams 51 to 52, and it ain't going to be visuals. It's an audio thing, so just close your eyes or not, and experience what he experienced at the time.
At 10 o'clock, I went to bed and felt somewhat better. Half an hour afterwards, I heard a noise beneath my head, and I then thought that the tempter had departed. Immediately, there came over me a powerful tremor from the head and over the whole body, together with a resounding noise, and this occurred a number of times. I found that something holy had encompassed me. I then fell asleep. But about 12, 1, or 2 o'clock in the night, there came over me a very powerful tremor from the head to the feet, accompanied with a booming sound as if many winds had clashed against one another. It was indescribable, and it shook me and prostrated me on my face. In the moment that I was prostrated, I became wide awake, and I saw that I had been thrown down.
Powerful sound. So this is not just
All right,
like,
pause.
oh, I heard a little tapping.
Okay, Bree I don't know if your daughter should be listening to this, but I don't think she should listen to this. Maybe you should mute me for Bree. Okay, listen. All right, guys, I'm gonna tell you why this is important, the hearing noises. When I was going through my spiritual awakening, for 3 days, and my mother could attest to this, for 3 days, before this happened where I felt confident, now I'm like doing what I'm doing, for 3 days straight, I heard voices in my ear, and when he's saying the tempter, some guy, like a demon type of sound, he was going, hey, come over here. Psst, psst, and he kept whistling and banging on my floor in my room. I was not sleeping alone for 3 days. I cried. I ran outside. I was so afraid, so terrified. Like it just haunted me for 3 days. It was
Goddamn, Flo.
Yeah, no, seriously, listen, for like 3 days, all these voices were following me. There was this one person particularly, no matter where I would go, I'd go pee. He'd be in my ear whistling and going, yeah, like this. He was going, yeah, take it off, like on me, like in my ear the whole time, right? So then I would be downstairs in my living room and there would be banging, like walking in my room. And I'm asking everybody, do you hear that? And nobody in my house heard it. So they thought I was crazy. I was seeing shadows everywhere. I was seeing figures, people. All of this happened to me for 3 days straight when I was going through my spiritual awakening. So if that happens, the point is your test.
I knew it was
Is that the same as if you thought someone said your name?
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say, Bree.
They never said they never said it's never was my name, but let me tell you, as I seen these dark shadow figures and the scary people and heard them, I also heard other voices saying, it's okay, this was a test to see how far I can take it and how strong I could be through this spiritual awakening. So going through that, somebody else would have been like, I'm done with this. I want to be regular. I don't want to know about this other world. And they give up. So that's just a test. You understand what I'm saying?
You know, like when I was a kid, I used to hear my mom call my name, but she wasn't calling my name. It was so weird.
Happened to me.
And listen, that happens to me now. I'll be like, Mom, did you just call me? And she's like, no. And I'll hear Lena loud and clear. That's what my family calls me, Lena. And I'll hear it. But it's not now. The difference is now it doesn't scare me. If it happens, I learn to push the bad energies away, get away. You know, like go back.
So is that bad energies?
It is.
It's bad energy, but then it could be, listen, good energy usually will not be in your ear and talking you to death. Like bad energy, temptation, let's say negative.
When does it stop though?
It stops, it'll happen. Listen, when you're going through a spiritual awakening, you see, he said the sweating, right? Then he said the crying, which I went through all that. Then this part now where he experienced things in the bed, like all of us say that we've woken up being held down or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that happens to me. That happened to me a lot of times. It doesn't happen now, right? But it happens when you start to awaken to this. It is a test, basically. So if you can pass the test, just know no matter what, you are always safe because you can't be harmed. This isn't the movies. You're not going to be crawling on walls. Like, that's not going to happen. So you can calm down with all that shit. And that's all. These are all things that are in your mind. So whatever you create, this is what the test is, to see what you can control in your mind. So even though you're hearing and seeing these voices, are they real? Yes, they're showing you, but they're also trying to see, can you control it or not? You understand?
Yeah, but something like that happened to me too, and they told me, they were like, it's a test.
It's 100% a test, because when all this was happening, I saw my father's look. I could explain to you guys like this. I basically saw in my room hell being played out. Like on the wall, there was one scene of hell. On another wall here, watch, he talks about this. He's going to talk about this. all this happened to me, and I didn't understand what's going on. So when I started researching, I saw this video, and I was like, whoa, that's exactly what happened to me. So I saw like visions of hell, people doing this, but also the negative energies were testing me by pretending to be my father and showing me a false figure of him. Do you understand? So they're going to test you in many different ways. Spirit usually uses people.
How do you get to that point?
Okay, so this is right now. You're in the very beginning stages of it.
Okay.
You're wanting to know more, little by little. When you really start to do the work that I started to do, which was like heavy meditations, crying, thinking about my past, writing shit down. I was going
in the
through
second stage.
through all that stuff. This is like the first stage of you guys just opening up. And if all that, some people it doesn't happen to, but it depends on also how high you want to ascend, or how high, let's say, the masters and the angels want you to ascend. Do you understand? So it's all like, it's like a level. There's like levels to this shit. Now watch what he says, because I went through all of this stuff. I seen they lied, like they showed me a vision of my father in hell, and he was being killed over and over again. And they tricked me to believe my dad was in hell, so I could be scared of that shit. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But then I figured out, when I saw my real father in the window, his actual face was there, and he like smiled at me, and he went like this, like, it's okay, it's okay. I laid on my bed, I'm not joking you. And there was a white face with a long tongue, and he was behind my head, and I was being held down in my bed. This is not a joke, this really happened to me. I was being held down in my bed, and I looked back, and it was a face with a tongue coming at me, and I tried to jump up, but guess what? Right next to me, I'm laying down, man, mind you, like this, on my stomach and my head. Yeah. And next, because I'm trying to hide in the blankets, I'm terrified, and nobody believes me. And then right in my face, my dad's face showed up on the bed, and he looked at me, and he was like, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. He looked like he was right there, like telling me, listen, you're just being tested. Pass this test, and then the rest is all history from here. And let me tell you,
why do they put such bad tests, like, to
because
scare you?
Because
that's
like, how else they gonna test you then?
Yeah, but that's not, seeing, that's another thing I'm gonna tell you right now. God is aware of everything. Let me tell you, the message I got yesterday was, you're gonna go through some changes, but just know that your angels know about it. That's why I always say it's very important to pay attention. If you look at the time and it's a certain time, your angels are telling you something's gonna come next. Be prepared, but just know we know about it. But it's not happening through us, but we know about it. But we're here. It's like a collaboration thing. Basically, they use each other for like testing people, but it's not because they're fucked up. This is just the laws of life. I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but what I can tell you is to be strong and not to be afraid. And you're always going to hear a good voice of somebody who loves you passed on telling you, don't be afraid. Always listen to that voice. Don't be afraid of anything. Because fear is the number one thing that they feed off of.
Feed on, okay.
Yeah, I know. That's true, true.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, fear is like, listen, you want to talk about feeding something? Feed it fear, feed it depression, feed it anxiety, feed it anger. And it will keep eating and eating. Yeah, all of that stuff is food to them. It's
so like we're supposed to feel it, I don't give a fuck. So
it's not that, but you got to really feel it. Because you know what? The thing is, they talk about this in another video of his. And if when you guys are done, you can always like look into his stuff, and it'll really wake you up. He helped me have a real spiritual awakening watching this, right? So like at the end of the day, just know that as you're going through this, an angel is always there and protecting you. You do not have to be afraid. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Play the video, please.
1 second, folks. Keep talking for a couple minutes because I have to upgrade the account because it's going to shut down in 3 minutes.
Okay.
Give me a couple minutes.
So like I said, listen, another thing you guys need to understand. So while you're going through this, like I said, you're going to be tested, and they're going to test you in ways. Look, in your dreams, look, let me tell you a secret about your dreams. You'll have a dream and be like, oh no, that was bad. I saw my aunt who died, and she looked crazy and scary. Don't believe me when I tell you, they use your family members to fuck with you. So be very aware and careful. Your aunt or my father or people who love us will not come in our dreams to scare us. Remember,
I have a question.
Yeah. So
like, if I'm spiritually awoken, can I still do crazy shit? Because I still want to do crazy shit.
Yeah, but see, okay, and listen, Nigel, that question is amazing because you know what? I'm going to just tell you something. One thing I'm going to tell you right now, When you do bad things, you attract bad spirits.
Exactly.
When you do good things, you attract good spirits. So it's really up to you. Who do you want to play with? You want to play with these bad spirits all your whole life?
I just want to have fun. I don't want to do nothing bad.
You can have fun. You can have fun, but while you have fun, listen, there's a difference between having fun and being joyful, right? Joyful is like childish.
Depends on what your intentions are.
Yeah, exactly. Because exactly, Bia. Thank you. Because I was like looking for a way to say it. I love that.
Because you could be all over the place. You could do what you want, but if your heart is in the right place, your guides all going to be there with you.
And this is what. And I talked about this in one of my videos. So okay, I said in one of my videos, hey, if you guys do something and it's bad, but you really in your heart believe it's a good thing to do for someone, it's your intentions. God is not going to look at you. Well, God, whoever you want to call it, they're not going to look at you and be like, you're a bad person. If you really thought in your heart it was a good thing to do and it turns out it's not, it's your intentions behind it. And that's
so we can still smoke.
Yeah, listen, as long as you're not smoking crack, you're good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you good. Like, you know, and believe me, you don't want to do none of that shit anyway, because that will show you the spirit world, the bad side, and it will fucking scare the shit out of you, okay?
Because they love that shit.
Yeah, they love, because you know what it is? People don't understand that.
We're good.
Okay, because spirits with, let me just explain so then we can start. Spirits with addiction, spirits with anxiety, fear, all that, you know, they stick around here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do all that, because I know, because I did it, don't tell me, because I would trip on E and people be like, you're seeing things. I'm like, nah, bitch, they're right there. I see them. They're standing next to me. It's a real person. Like, you know, so you bring those things to you. Believe me when I say that. Okay, you can start the video because I want people really to see these stuff.
Yeah, we want to watch. All right,
Yeah,
and don't
really
be
good.
saying shit in the chat. Watch the video.
Where is she? And screen share.
At the window, right? Something more.
That's right. I'm interested at the beginning of that quotation. He hears a sound underneath his head. He's presumably lying in the bed,
right,
but he hears something down from beneath him, and he reads it as that the tempter is gone. You know, he's going through some kind of temptation or spiritual crisis, and as if that evil spirit is gone or something.
Yeah.
But then later he has this experience of these tremendous sound, the winds crashing together, and he's thrown onto his face, which is one we'll hear some more about a little bit later in the show.
He gives these all away because they occur sort of in these bunches, these symptoms. But powerful sound and like this overwhelming experience. It's like the spiritual world is not just audible, but like unignorable.
That's right. A sound so powerful that it throws you on your face. Yeah, as you say, it's not like just a little, still small voice or something.
Yeah.
This is something very loud that he's experiencing.
Well, and if we're going to be going down the spiritual sensory path, we've got our hearing down. Let's take a look at another of your primary 5. Seeing, but not just seeing people who had died.
That's right. Now, Swedenborg's famous by now for all his interactions with people who passed on, but he wasn't at this time. He hadn't had those kind of experiences. And during this journal, you start to see him see people. Most of the people that he mentions are his own relatives.
Okay.
Probably the person he sees the most is his own father, who died 8 years before.
Jesper.
He also sees his mother. He sees his brother Eliezer, who had died really young and had died over 20 years earlier.
Okay. Like as a little baby?
He had a brother who died as a baby, but Eliezer lived a little longer, but died in 1717, which is a long time before this.
But he saw him as a grown-up but knew it was him? Okay.
Yes, and he says, I saw my deceased brother in the other world. He also saw a political figure of Count Arvid Horn, who was a nobleman at the time.
Yeah.
So
like,
it's kind of random, and it's hard to tell whether he's seeing them in dreams or visions. But part of what makes me think he was really contacting these people is that, for instance, he has a conversation with his father that goes on in something like June, and he asks his father a question, and then at the end of September, his father comes back with an answer. It's like, I don't have dreams where I pose a question, and 4 months later you get an answer.
Sorry, that got to the bottom of my inbox. I'm sorry.
I was busy.
Yeah, that's like you're interacting with something that's responding and something that takes time to calculate.
Yeah, that's right, and very meaningful. Some of the conversations were about, like, I think the father had kind of expected him to be a clergyman, and there's kind of a dream dream he has where that sort of gets healed, and so he starts to
feel the dreams
to experience people who are in the other world. It's not yet to the full point of waking, ongoing conversations. But it seems like he's being prepared for that kind of contact.
Right. He's just starting to move into it.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of wild ones, but they're still like, okay, everybody gets, I see dead people, everybody knows that line.
That's right.
Here's something that probably you never heard before. Symptom number 6, double thoughts. And we're going to let Swedenborg describe just what those double thoughts were. This is from his Journal of Dreams, number 69. It was wonderful, and he doesn't mean great, right?
He mean it was like astounding, like it would fill him with wonder or amazement.
Yeah. So the original meaning of the word. It was wonderful that I was able to have at one and the same time 2 thoughts.
Okay, so pay attention to this part. Remember I told you guys your intuition, right? Remember I said intuition? This is what Swedenborg he calls this double thoughts. You know why? Because when you're thinking and something's thinking on top of you, that is something communicating with you. That is your intuition. So if you have a thought and you say yes and something else says no, that's a communication from the other side. And that's how I use my intuition when I do tarot card readings and I talk and I channel messages, okay? So pay attention.
All right, we got you.
All right, good. Go ahead. Double thoughts. I love this.
Double thoughts, all right.
Quite distinct from one another. The one for myself, which occupied entirely the thoughts of others. And at the side of this, the thoughts of the temptation, in such a manner that nothing was powerful enough to drive them away. They held me captive so that I did not know whither to flee, for I carried them with me.
I carried them with me.
So what does he mean there when he says that I had one set of thoughts which occupies other people, and then what's that?
I don't know exactly what he's talking about there, but it seems like he had one set of thoughts that was like a normal set, like other people have, or something.
You and I have what we're used to, right?
Yeah, and he's able to watch all that. What amazes me is that he's sensitive to this, like he perceives it, and so he notices that he's having the same kind of thoughts and he's watching all that go on, and there's another set of thoughts and they're kind of frozen, or he can't control them, and they're negative. It seems like he says they're from the temptation and everything, and he can't get out of them. They just keep hammering. So it's like two voices going on in his head at the same time, and clashing. It's very interesting, and not in agreement at all. It's two entirely. What makes you feel like your thoughts are your own is that they often are in your voice, and you sort of have some reason why you're thinking it, but the fact that he's thinking stuff he doesn't even want to be thinking, and it's stuck in his head, and it disagrees with his other thoughts, it's a different kind of state in relationship to thought.
It was distinct enough for him to mention it.
That's right.
That we've all had like, I can't stop thinking about it. I can't get this song out of my head. But he was feeling like, no, I'm going to label this. And he talks about it more in the Journal of Dreams 148, where he says, this day also I have been somewhat disturbed in my mind, because against my will the thoughts were flying for and against, and I could not control them.
Yes, could not control them, and so there's one set of thoughts. He doesn't say what the issue is in that quote, but there are thoughts against, is completely opposite bodies of thought, going in two different directions, and he can't control either of them. He says they're flying, and so I don't know exactly what it's like.
And this is all some kind of, like, there's a spiritual struggle going on of like the negative part of him and the positive part, or that he's awakening to this new thing, and somehow that clash is beginning to be represented in these.
That's right. And as he looks back on this later, he starts to see that he thinks, oh, those were spirits, like that was spirit influence. He can call it the tempter or something, but I don't think he's totally connected with the thought from things he says later. He hasn't totally connected with the idea that these are separate beings who are putting these thoughts in his mind. He just thinks, wow, I'm having two sets of thoughts or something.
Right. And well, you can see, and he was distressed by these a lot of the time, and you can see why in this next quote. This is from 158. He says, "This day I have been in most severe temptation." And so when I thought of Jesus Christ, there at once came ungodly thoughts, which I could not be blamed for, as it seemed to me. So Jesus being obviously something very precious to him, and then this sort of corrupt, rude, intrusive thoughts coming in. I struck myself, like he slapped himself or something. But I can affirm that I had never felt such lively courage as this day, not in the smallest degree cast down, timorous, or hurt as on other days.
So it seems like on other days, this kind of thing would happen. Those ungodly thoughts would happen, and he'd be terrified by them or depressed or something, but not this time. Right.
Although the temptation was most severe.
Yeah, so it's extra severe, and yet he sort of held up better during it.
And so why? The reason is that our Lord had given me the strong faith and confidence that he helps me for Jesus Christ's sake and his promise, so that I then found out the work of faith. And if anyone knows Swedenborg, that last sentence, God helps me for Jesus Christ's sake, that is very strange coming from Swedenborg.
That's right. Later, he departs from that view and feels that Jesus Christ is the Lord. The Lord is God. It's all one. But there, it's sort of one for the other one. The Lord for Jesus Christ.
Flo got to talk. She want to say something.
Okay, so this is getting too much into Jesus Christ and the Lord and all that holy shit. But the reason why I'm saying that is because, okay, so you know how, Nigel, remember when you said you have those negative thoughts and they don't stop?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is what he's talking about, the double thoughts. So what you need to distinct from now on, anybody who has depression or negativity in their mind, you need to find a distinction between you and if that's you thinking that or it's someone else. Because let me explain something to you. The number one thing he always talks about, he says, once these thoughts become, once the devil, the temptation, whatever you want to call it, those thoughts become yours, God can no longer step in to tell you what to think. So once you start to believe that these thoughts are yours, so they'll keep putting these negative thoughts in your head constantly over and over again. Once you start to take those thoughts on as your own, you're fucked, is basically it. So you can always get out of it. You can always get out of it, because I have. But what I'm saying too is it's very vital to understand that when you're thinking and you hear these negative thoughts, that's why I say I hear them, because I'll be like doing something or blah, blah, blah. And then immediately like something bad will come up in my head.
Yeah.
And I stop and I'll go, okay, thank you, bye. And I push it away. Yeah, thank you. Oh, that was great. Oh, real funny. And I push it away because then they know that you're aware that it's not your thoughts. Once they know you're aware it's not your thoughts, they can no longer fuck with you. So the more you show them that you know it's not you thinking that, the more powerful you become. Do you understand that? You become, as soon as that thought comes into your head, you immediately stop it. Like you'll listen, thanks for sharing, and push it away. This is very vital for everyone in here. Anytime you have a negative thought, they will know how powerful you are and they can't mess with you anymore, okay? So you say it nicely, thank you for sharing, and push it away, okay? Let's go to number 4.
Hey, Flo, real quick. There's somebody named Sarah keeps trying to come in. Should I let them in or not? I don't know.
Yeah, Sarah was here last time, G.
Yeah, you can let her in. Yeah, let her in. She's a little late, but it's okay. We'll still talk about all this when it's done, you know, because I want everybody to tell me if they've been through any of this. I want to see if anybody's experienced this yet. I think it's very important to listen to this. It's very smart to listen to this, you know, and like I was led to this. Like it's like I get messages telling me what to do at the meeting, so it's kind of cool. It's like spirits telling me, let them do this, do that, you know.
Say this.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you guys see it now?
Is Sarah came in?
Yeah.
Sarah, I just want to explain to you, we are watching 10 signs of an early spiritual awakening. We've just been through a couple of signs, but we will go over it when we're done and discuss it. So I just want you to join in. Right now, there are double thoughts telling you how negative thoughts become your own if you don't stop them.
Keeps going in and out.
All right, whatever. Just go. Just go to number 5, okay? The beginning of number 5.
Okay.
So we got the double thoughts thing going, okay?
Can you guys see the video?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To me, see it.
Yeah.
My ears are vibrating so hard. My ears right now, they're vibrating.
So is this him, feeling some of heaven for the first time?
It seems so, doesn't it? And it's very interesting that maybe you've got that rational mind in the middle, heaven's above, the body below, and the rational mind is kind of watching, going, what is going on?
As they
and
connect.
Heaven is kind of getting hooked up. His spirit, he says, is getting hooked up with his body. But the reason it makes me think particularly that it's of heaven is that he talks about an infinite love. Love itself is there in the center.
Sounds cool.
It's welling up out of that and coming around. And those of you who've read Swedenborg's works, you see that sometimes he describes where things are in relation to the human body in the spiritual world. He said this is near the kidneys, or this was at the level of the chest, slightly raised up, and that kind of thing. And so it seems like that mapping may be starting to happen, where he's feeling things of heaven right in his own flesh.
And there's complexity to it, that he's not just like, man, that felt great. He's like, no, there was a center and it wrapped around and it was infinite. And his description of this beautiful joy, in all of his stuff, but with the structure to it, for some reason, to me, that just like, oh man, that's awesome. Like that's so cool that joy and bliss has a structure and a connection and a meaning. I don't know. To me, that seems cool.
And it's interesting to think, like, in a way that the child maybe is sort of amazed at this experience, and then the scientist is going, yes, and it originated here, and it went around, then came down.
Oh, that's right. Both parts.
It's kind of both parts are in there, getting hooked up in a different way.
That's how you feel. Then this. Then when you get to this, he's talking about the steps. Like he went from the sweating to the hearing voices to the double thoughts to this, and now he's at the point of the gladness. This is where I went to a little while ago. That's why I always say love, joy, oh my God. Because when you feel this, when I tell you, when you meditate, you start to meditate, you get to this point, you will feel heaven inside of you. I will tell you right now, I have felt it. It's better than any fucking ecstasy pill I've ever taken, any Molly, any drug I've ever done. And I can simply compare it to that, to anybody who's ever smoked a blunt, whatever, and you're like, oh, like this is the greatest feeling in the world. When I tell you that natural high, when those endorphins and this serotonin and the oxytocin, all that kicks in, when the natural shit happens, I will tell you right now, you will literally bust a nut in your pants. I'm not even kidding. Okay. Next, go ahead, kept play. I'm sorry. I always got to get sexual with shit. My bad.
This stuff is cool, but enough with these, top half. We want to get to the most highly numbered or lowly numbered, whatever you want to say. We want to get to number one, right? The only way we're going to do that is to make it into the next section, where we'll be talking about, just tremors and chills and that sort of thing. So let's take a look at part 3. So we're going to open at number 4 with, again, something that does happen to people. This is not an exclusive spiritual experience. It's none other than chills and shivering. And this is going to be distinct from a greater shaking we'll see later. But let's get introduced by Swedenborg to when these occurred and why these are more than just regular goosebumps. So this is the Journal of Dreams, number 40. I went to bed at 9 o'clock. The temptation, accompanied with trembling, so in this translation, trembling, continued until 10:30. I wanted to include that because it's a timestamp. How long was your temptation? Oh, it was 90 minutes. It was an hour and a half.
That's right. It was one of those hour and a half ones.
Yes. And so what's cool is if you go on to read from that, he says he has this temptation, but then he says, I was shown the meaning of it. And he was shown the meaning of it through this weird series of images.
Yes, images, and even kind of they get, it's not just sort of things he's seeing with his mind, but he's getting very engaged in it himself, like it's an interactive
as we'll
type
see
of thing. Yeah.
First popped up this guy.
Ah, there he is. That's Erland Broman.
Who is a guy that Swedenborg knew.
That's right.
What's that red thing?
Who's doing this?
Sadie, why you coloring?
That's not.
She's not.
Hold up.
I
Somebody's.
didn't even know someone else can control it. Isn't it only the host?
I don't know who's doing that.
I don't know, but Kayleen said she don't like this. I don't know who that is. Who's Kayleen?
That's probably the person from yesterday.
Take them off, man. Didn't I tell you not to let nobody in unless we know them?
Flo, don't get mad at her. I think I heard.
I'm not getting mad at her. I'm not getting mad at her. I'm getting mad at the people that's not. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. It's just
They kept trying to be sneaky, coming up with different names.
Stop putting people in. I told you, no more. That's it. Done.
Well, Zoom has been having problems with other people like breaking code and getting into their meetings. That's why my kid's school doesn't use it anymore.
Oh
wow.
Really?
Because that's weird that they were able to do that. That code.
Yeah, they've been like hacking into different meetings.
They have Google Hangout or something.
Yo, but look,
Google
guys, don't you find it weird that they're hacking into a meeting about spiritual awakening and trying to interrupt it? These are signs that you need to understand. Oh my God, yo.
I got chills.
Me too.
Me too.
No, but you know what? You know what's funny? We got the chills, right? He was just talking about chills, right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yo,
I'm
but
serious. I wish I could show you.
Let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you right now. I watched this, and I know you guys. I know I could talk freely with you guys because get it. Like I'm on this shit, like on it 24/7. The lady that I watched, she said something about the Zoom meeting, and they said like the spirits were talking, and they were saying we should pop up into the Zoom meeting. So they were saying like, don't you want to be famous? And one of them was like,
I just got chills. I just got
chills really bad.
Because you know what? Yo, listen, you got chills because I'm telling you. Listen, whoever my spirits, like the ones that are around me all the time, or your spirits, but they're probably fucking with us. But just let's acknowledge it. It's funny. Okay, hilarious. I don't even think that was a person. I swear to God, I'm not even just saying that to you right now because my ears are burning.
I got chills everywhere right now.
My ears are burning right now. So just know, hi guys, we saw you. We saw you. Okay. Let's continue on.
Because I don't think it was the guy from last night. Because
no. I honestly.
Oh no, it is because you know who's trying to come in right now?
Who?
Bend over.
Oh Christ!
But I still don't think. Listen, I still don't think any of them could control the controls. So
I don't think so either.
That's scary.
Yeah,
it's not scary. Hold up. Stop.
We're not letting them in.
It is not scary. It is amazing. It is interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
It is super cool that we get to witness this. So don't be afraid.
And it's recording, so we'll be able to see
exactly. And it's just listen. This is they were warning me that they were going to try to do this, but I heard that they were going to put voices in it and stuff. So if that happens and we rewatch this and we hear voices that are not ours, just listen very closely because I catch audio on people's tower readings all of the time. I'll hear the girl say emotions, and then I heard the girl in the background say emotions, girl, and I swear to you. There is this one girl, she's Tarot by Bronx. On one video, you could see the orbs flying in and out of her tarot card deck. So just so you know, like, this shit ain't a game, bro. So like, don't think it's, when I say it's gonna happen. Thank you. They're trying to prove that this shit's real right now. Thank you. So go ahead. There's
y'all been smiling the whole time I've been talking.
We see you. We do something else. Write something.
Like say hi or something.
Goosebumps. Don't let nobody.
The lottery number.
I wish.
We will be out.
We're almost. Listen, we're almost through these videos, and I want you guys all to like tell me, have you ever experienced any of this? So press play, and if he starts rambling on about number 4, get to number 3. Okay.
Right, he's talk too much sometimes.
Yeah, go ahead. That's why I watch the important part.
We're gonna watch Constantine after.
Oh, we could watch Constantine, yes, but
yeah, what the fuck is that? What is that? What is it about?
Hold up, yo. Oh, okay. So wait, Sadie.
Yeah.
Sadie. Okay, so do me a favor. Can we just really quickly just show number 3? Don't play it. Just show the number 3, 2, and 1, what they say, so that I can just quickly explain my version of it. Okay. And then we're gonna talk about Constantine as a movie about God and the devil.
And
I seen it on the homepage. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So listen. But Constantine in the original, the real Constantine, he was shown a vision of the cross, and he ended up winning a war with that vision, right? So somebody said, use this on all of your shields and you'll win the war. This is real. Constantine's a real historical figure. So in this movie, Constantine fights the bad guys. So it starts off with like him fighting a demon, and then they explain things through it, and he explains what this is, what that is. So that's why I kind of wanted to watch that with you guys. So if she can play that, there's actually this thing called what's that? What you call movies? fmmovies.to. If she could play it, we'll watch Constantine. But I just quickly want to get through 3, 2, 1, and then that's it. We're done. Don't even get. Just
there's a site I know where you can get free movies that are like in
1, 2, 3 movies.
1, 2, 3 movies. Yeah.
It's mine. I get M4U.
It's on Netflix.
Chat. Send it in the chat, and then we'll
I
do
think
it after.
Constantine's on Netflix.
No, it's not.
A bunch of
It's
ads,
not on
though.
Netflix.
No. Here. Look, I'll show you, but don't. Sadie.
Is it that? No.
Sadie. Just show 3, 2, and 1. Stop at 3 and show what it says.
Okay.
Don't play. Go ahead. Do it while we're talking.
Let me share the screen.
My ears are vibrating so heavily right now. You guys don't even know.
Facts.
They trying to distract us right now.
That's another thing. I'll let you guys know. Vibrating ears that's how the higher your vibrations go, the higher your ears will vibrate. And
No, it's my foot. It's my foot.
Your foot vibrates?
Yeah.
My feet vibrate at night. Very badly.
Yeah. My feet is like going crazy. I can hear it.
Okay, and if anybody wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you feel like vibration, okay. Well, when that happens, that's the time that somebody's trying to communicate with you. So, like I said, remember the double thoughts, you guys. So when you wake up at that time, just listen to what's going on in your head. You'll know if it's from you. That's like you'll be like, what the hell am I up for in your head, right? But then somebody will be like, because blah 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 blah. Like they won't be clearly like talking, but you'll feel it. You understand?
Right, number 3 it says prostrated. Let me make it bigger.
Prostrated?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know
when you bow down.
Oh, okay. So he's gonna talk about the I remember what this is. He's gonna talk about the dreams, the being held down in your dreams. That's what was happening to him at this point. So he's at the point of being held down in his dreams, where this is like when he's having a dream, spirit's trying to keep him in the dream. So this could, to know that it's a negative dream is when you can't get up, right? When you can't get up.
Oh yeah.
So when you can't get up and you're fighting it, that's how you know it's negative, because they're trying to keep you in the dream to fuck with you. If it's a good one, you'll feel like that for a second, but you'll get up. It's almost like I'm trying to talk to you, you know what I mean? But if it's holding you down, the point is to wiggle your big.
I told you about my dream I had.
Yeah. Yes. The point is to wiggle your big toe when that happens to you and just get yourself out of the dream. And I had this dream about a week ago, and I heard my father loud and clear say, "Get up, Lena." He said, "Get up, Lena. Lena, get up." So I got up, because in the dream it was horrible. I felt like, oh my God, I hate this dream. But he said it to me loud and clear, "Get up, Lena, get up." So listen, when you have these dreams, if it's something that's not good for you to see, you will always be woken up by an angel. Just remember that, always. Okay. What's the next one? Number 2.
Number 2 is.
He says in this explanation that.
All right, let's go. Number 2 is. I can't see.
You can't see. Prenatural sleep. That's when you're sleeping and you're dreaming and things like. Okay, so you'll have dreams very vividly. They'll start to come to you, visions in your dreams that you'll see clearly and you can't forget, right? So like it's like it's like you can't explain what's going on. You understand what I'm saying? That's the kind of sleep. Like, and then not only that, but you'll find yourself being tired at certain times, and it's not because you're tired, it's because spirit might have a real important message for you, so they need you to sleep so they can speak to you. You understand?
Oh, that's cool.
I understand.
Yeah. So if that ever happens to you where you're like, I'm so tired, that might be spirit trying to say, all right, I need you to take a nap so I can talk to you real quick. That's why it's important to take that nap if you can, and then write down what you see in your dreams. He figured all this out by writing down his dreams. It's very, 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 very important to write your dreams down if you can remember that. Okay, go ahead, next.
Number 1 is.
All right. Yeah, number 1.
Shuddering.
Oh, like shaking?
Shuddering. Okay, so yeah, so like, all right, so that's this is all steps. Okay, so we can end this video because this is all steps now that he's talking about. you'll start off with the chills, and then you'll start off with the this, and then the hearing voices. All of these steps, when we watch this again, we can understand. And if you want to watch it by yourself and really watch the whole thing, or you can concentrate, go ahead and do that. And I suggest that you watch things from his videos, because he's got a lot of information there on a lot of things. This guy talks about what heaven's like, what hell's like, but he sees it in a way, it's like all thoughts. He's like, your heaven and your hell are all. That's why I always say it's a state of mind, heaven and hell, right? People that there's so much that next time we'll talk about how he explains how.
Okay, hold on, Flo.
Yeah.
What's his YouTube channel? Cause I got my notes out.
It's called Swedenborg and Life.
Here, I'll show you this guy's YouTube channel so you could see it.
And also, Sadie, I wanted to know, make sure we like give credit for the copyright if we post
Oh,
this.
yeah, of course, yeah. When I post it on YouTube tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I don't want to,
No. As long as we share them, that we're using videos, we're good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so take this off now.
Yeah, you could take that off. So like I said, the Swedenborg Life, we'll post that, and I want you guys to, every chance you get, watch a video that catches your eye. If something like the title of the video, you like it, just watch it.
It's right here, off the left eye.
Off the left eye, it's called, which I love.
Okay, hold on.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Can you write it in the
honestly,
comments?
I started watching this when he had like.
Well, it's gonna be on the YouTube video tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
On this guy's page tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now, so I want to know: did anybody ever feel like they experienced any of those things at all? Like
Yes.
Chills, shaking,
Yes.
and hearing voices. Yeah.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
My brother used to have those where they held you down, and he couldn't move, and nobody ever believed him.
Can you explain to everybody if it's okay, Robin?
Yeah, I'm going to explain the whole story. I'm going to start off with what dreams he had. He had dreams where they would hold him down, and he wasn't able to move. But he said he used to feel someone breathing on him. And I used to get chills when he would tell me this, and it would scare me, but there was nothing I could do. Like, he's sleeping. He said he'd open his mouth, he couldn't move. He couldn't get words out. He said he couldn't move his neck left or right, but he knew someone was right here.
Yep.
Not even a year later, after him telling me about these night terrors, is what I ended up researching at the time. We didn't have Google like we have now. But he got in a car accident really bad, where he wasn't able to speak. He wasn't cognitive. He was on the breathing tube. He broke his neck. He broke his femur really bad. He wasn't cognitive at all. So for 5 years, he was like that. The whole time, I kept telling him, Haas, this is not one of those fucking dreams. This is not one of those dreams you got to break out of. You got to talk to us. And to this day, Lena FLO uses him as a spirit guide, because in our culture and my religion,
he passed away, by the way, guys. He passed away.
I'm sorry.
After 5 years, he passed away. His body gave out.
5 years of being completely like what you would call a vegetable.
Yeah, but what I was told and what gave me solace is that he was pretty much considered like a martyr, because he paid for sins here on earth. So being that, he was granted the highest level of heaven. So when Flo tells me that she gets message from him, like she'll let me know every so often she's got a message. I believe it 100%, because not only does it come through as true, but he's at that highest level that he could tell us anything he wants.
Yes. And I'm gonna explain. Let me tell you guys.
Flo.
Yeah,
I'll make
in the levels. That's what I want to.
Yeah, I want to tell you guys, listen, so the first time I saw him in my dream, we were on the beach and we were holding hands, and he was so happy. He was like basically showing me, I'm good. Tell everyone I'm good, right? The second time I had a dream about him was when I was going through court stuff. And it's funny because Robin was going through a little bit of the same thing. We're not going to talk too much in depth about it. But he came as a white light being. When I say bright white, like I couldn't even tell you how bright he was. And I was sitting in court. There was a judge here, and my mom, but who wasn't my mother, so I'm assuming it was Robin's mother, was sitting there, and Rabia was right there, and Hassan walked in the room, and he came behind my back, and he put his head on my shoulder and my head between here, and just went like that to me, like, because in the dream I was like, what the fuck, man, nothing's going right. And he basically said, it's gonna be all right. So he literally put his head here. I woke up to my mom. I was so excited about it. I didn't even know how to react. She was like, you should tell her. Maybe. So I was like, I don't want to, like violate, because what do? You tell someone. But he came there, was like basically showing me all of the stuff that's going on. It's going to be all right. Everything that you want is going to happen. Do you understand, you guys? So this is what I say, like, there's levels. The levels are this. I'm going to tell you that. And if you get a chance to watch Swedenborg in Life, and you get a chance to watch, this is how I learned, and plus communicating with them, there's levels, meaning, okay, so people say heaven, hell, right? Okay, Muslims believe that there's 7 levels of heaven, right? And then they believe there's 7 levels of hell. If you look at the old school things, like the mythological creatures, they believe there's different demons that rule different kings of hell and different kings of heaven. So when you ascend, you could be in the lowest level of hell, but if you're learning lessons, you can ascend slowly, right? You can get up to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. So it's like a learning lesson. The more lessons you learn, the higher you go. You understand? The more you forgive, the more you're forgiving towards yourself and others, you can actually be forgiven and ascend. It's never too late. Is that the way I'm going to explain it to you? That God will always give you a chance, because remember, the all merciful, the all forgiving, all these words, look, my right ear is burning right now. The all merciful, the all forgiving, let me tell you, and no matter what people do, you know how they say God forgives murderers, rapists, right? So this is what I'm trying to say. Hassan, before he passed, let me tell you something. Everyone said, when my ears are both burning, and I'm just going to tell you guys, I'm not even kidding, my ears are burning like crazy. So Hassan, to me and to everybody else, was, when I tell you, angel, the way he was, so calm, so patient, so minding his own business, didn't like drama. When I tell you, this kid didn't talk bad about people, he made you feel comfortable.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
my brother, I can attest to what kind of person he was.
Yes,
he was no fucking angel.
But to us, he was.
But no, hold up. But it's like what that person was asking before about intentions.
Yes.
And my brother had, like, the only thing they wrote in the paper after his car accident is how many fucking tickets he had, because he never wore a seatbelt, and he always got pulled over, and he was reckless, and it was almost like they wrote the article saying he had it coming. But like,
that's what they do.
But like, he lived, like, my brother was that type person that, like, after the accident happened, we were like, holy shit, he was the type of person that lived life every fucking day.
Yes.
He lived it to the fullest.
Yes.
He didn't have a dime in his pocket, he'd still fucking go out and do shit.
That's
like,
right.
He was that type of person that you wanted to be around. Like, he knew, like, he would never talk shit about people, because he said that's women shit, obviously. I think the advice he ever gave me, and my man's upstairs right now, I'll tell you right now, I believe it to this day. Everybody cheats. Every man cheats. If he lets you find out, he obviously doesn't give a fuck about you. I learned that young from him, and so now I'm like, if my man does what he's got to do, and I don't fucking I know it sounds really fucking dumb right now to even say out loud, but he does what he's got to do. It was a lesson I learned from my brother, as long as I don't find out. But I mean, he was chill, like, where everybody actually did like him. And to us, he was like an angel. Obviously, they say that about people who pass away, but he was no fucking saint on earth.
Yeah, no, but the funny thing is that, like, when I say that, it's like, you understand, like, my family, my grandfather, everybody was like, what? But he was the best kid ever. Like, and they thought that about him before that too, because I remember Amit used to try to hook me up with him when I was younger. And Amit, he never wanted to know my grandfather. He used to try to push me towards him. Oh, he plays soccer. You should date him. You should date him. I'm like, we're like brother and sister. Stop it. But the point is, you guys, what she's saying, what I'm saying is all a message to let you know that when you live this life on the earth, it's really your intentions and how you live about it and how you think about yourself and others, right? So the way you do that, and even if you feel like you did something wrong, forgiveness is always available to every single person. So whoever's going to watch this later on or whatever, I want you to understand, no matter what you did, the guilt has to go out the window, because that is the number one reason why people end up in their own hell in their mind, right? So forgiveness in yourself and others is is very fucking important. You know, like you hear about spirits that they accidentally killed their children. They live the rest of their life on earth trying to find that child and forgiving themselves for what they did, right? So you got to understand that if you don't learn these lessons while you're here in the body, you will be able to learn them in the afterlife. But the point is, try to learn them as much as you can now, so that later on you don't have to learn lessons. You don't have to do none of that. You understand?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Somewhat similar in the fact that you guys are saying there's levels, and the thing that was discussed in the video is that sometimes in our dreams they're trying to portray something that may not be true. So I'm going to share something a little personal. I'll give you a background story before I get into it. So my father passed away and I was like 17. It was suicide. So when he passed away, I always find it weird that he was never in my dreams a lot. I've only dreamt with him 4 times in my life. It was during things serious that were going on.
That's
the
right.
last time I had a dream with him was a month ago. And it was just crazy what he said, because it was just never something like came. I'm not that religious, so that's not just something that came across my mind. I had a dream. I found him in the basement, and he was just trying to tell me like everything's gonna be okay. But he looked at me really sad and he said, "But I'm not where you think I am. I'm down here."
Stop. Yeah.
That's not a thought in my mind I've had.
Stop. So guys, because remember when I told you that I was in my room, and the thing that always bothered me was I thought my father died of a drug overdose. Okay, so I always thought he was in hell, right? So now listen to how the spirits fucked with me. They showed me that he was in hell and being punished for all the things that he did here on earth. But then that was a trick, because I told you, listen, hell is a state of mind. So if my father died in a state of sadness, he probably was in that level of sadness where he regretted everything. But little by little, us here on the planet right now, me doing all of this, I say in my head, my intentions always behind it is like, if that is true, please God, let all of my good deeds go on to my father so he can ascend. Do you understand? Muslims believe the more good deeds you do here on earth, the more you lift your family that's stuck in hell up. You understand what I'm saying to you? So if your family members were bad in this life, you doing Hajj, you doing the deed, you doing giving things to people will ascend your family members that passed on. So that's why most of the time, most of the things that I do, I pray that it's ascending my father. But I do know one thing. I don't believe that was him saying that I'm not where you think I am, but I do believe that they are learning lessons at this present moment, and they are in a form of a school, so they can't always come reach us unless they have to get like permission. I don't know how to explain it to you. So this is the way I was shown it. They have to get permission. So like if something's really badly going on to you, heaven or hell, whatever you want to call it, right? Whether it be bad or good. But my grandmother, she had to get permission to come into my dream when I was going through something really important. Then she has to get permission again. She comes and shows herself in many forms to me to warn me of things as well, right? But she has to get permission. So remember, it takes a lot of energy for them to come visit you, right? So they have to get that permission and use and get like, it's just like a school that they're in. So they can't just leave and come to you whenever they want. You understand? Which is why my father doesn't come visit me anytime I want him to. He hasn't, besides that time I was going through the spiritual awakening. It's the only time I've ever seen him in my life. Do you understand?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so understand that that's not him telling, because your dad would never be like, I'm in hell. That's not, do you think, if you were that dead, would you come in the dream? Just think of it like that. Would you come in the dream and tell your kid, hey, by the way, I'm not in heaven, bro, I'm stuck in hell, so whoops. No.
Wait,
and maybe this is
Yari, where do you think your father is?
I don't know, because I'm Hispanic, so they tell
us
that
he was in
if you
hell.
kill yourself, you go to hell.
Yes, Bia, what were you about to say, Bia?
No, my point is what did you believe? I'm sorry. Hold on.
I believe that he went to hell because of that.
Right.
Because
Okay.
that's what I've been raised, like that's the type of stuff.
Okay, so then maybe the message was he's not where you leave.
I don't know. He looks sad, so I'm thinking he's meaning hell because he looked sad to me. So to me, I'm like,
No, and that's not so you might have seen him in the state that he might be in right now, which is, you know what light workers are? Okay, so you know what light workers are? Let's say me, right? Someone passes, right? Like if my friend died of a tragedy, and you know what I did? The first thing I did when I found out he passed away, I told him, go to the light. Don't stay there, because when you stay in that state of mind, you get stuck there longer. So it's up to you as his family member to be like, Dad, you know, learn lessons. Don't do that. It's not that he's in hell. He's probably still sad about what he did. Do you understand? Those are called residual spirits. Residual meaning they repeat the same thing over and over again that happened in life. So it's up to you or a light worker or somebody to be like, you don't need to think that way anymore, and try to pull them out of it, which is what I'm doing every day with my father. I'll be like, Bobby, if you're stuck somewhere, get the fuck out, leave right now. And I talk to him like I'm talking to a regular person, you understand? And the messages will always get to them. Don't worry about where they are, because they'll always hear you.
Okay. Thank you.
But also, yeah.
I don't think she got the message the right way. I think what she's thinking, her father's in hell, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And he said to her, I'm not where you think I am.
Oh, okay. So yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying now?
I understand completely. So he's telling you, I'm not where you think I am.
Right.
I'm okay. Yep. Okay.
Right.
So if you seen him looking sad, maybe he was sad because you think that that's where he is.
Right.
In your mind. So yep. Thank you, Bia, for solving the equation. Because
Sorry.
sometimes it takes enough. That's why I love.
Why is my chest hurting so bad?
Sometimes we feed off of each other, man. That's why I love that shit. I love that shit, man. I love it.
Well, whose chest is hurting now? I'm an EMT, man. You can't be saying this shit on the fucking...
My chest is hurting.
Chest hurts? Michael, your chest hurts?
Yeah.
All right, well, just push that away. It could be something that you're feeling too, because sometimes...
You're probably carrying someone's stress.
Yeah, you're feeling somebody's pain right now. So, okay, that's what I'm saying. When you get a group of people together, you ever got like a group of women together, they start getting their periods at the same time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a cycle and the energy.
We're about to all have our periods together.
Yeah, and I'm about to get mine. But it's like,
I already got mine.
It's like a cycle with energy as well. So when you get a bunch of people and they start...
Hey, Reese, you still here, G? I didn't even know he was here.
What?
Reese so quiet.
Oh, I didn't even know he was here.
I'm just listening.
Oh.
I'm in whenever.
Then you the only two dudes in here. That's why I want to talk to you.
Oh, yeah.
You're muted, Flo.
Oh, she's muted.
Dina,
Okay, I'm good?
Yeah.
What you guys want to do? I want to watch the movie if you guys are down.
What you want to do? With you the lead, Flo. We here because of you.
I mean, but I'm going to tell you right now, the movie is like 2 hours long, though. So
oh, shit.
That's long.
That's fine. I honestly don't care.
2 hours
I
long.
want to watch it.
I mean, either way, even if you guys get tired or whatever in between, I'm up till like 6 a.m. So for me, this ain't nothing.
Yeah.
I don't sleep. So like really, I won't. So if you guys want, go get your snacks. It's just Sadie. I'm gonna send you the link to FM Movies right now. I gotta pee. Let's go get our snacks. Do it.
I have it.
Go piss.
Listen, I'm gonna share the screen really quick. Tell me if it's.
All right.
Is this it?
Yeah.
That's wait. Yep.
What is
What's
on
the
Netflix?
movie?
It's on
That's
Netflix?
No, it's on 1, 2, 3.
No, never mind. It's on
Okay,
Netflix.
yeah.
I
That's
told
it.
y'all my site
All right,
works.
I gotta go pee.
All right, let's try to do it.
Are you sure it's not the trailer or is that the full movie? Because sometimes when it says that, it shows just a trailer.
Really?
Yeah.
If we do that, shouldn't be mad.
Try to click it without sharing the screen and see if it's just a trailer.
It's probably bootleg though.
Because sometimes they do that. It's like a scam, and I hate it.
It's not funny. It probably is bootleg.
Don't ever use Pulunker. By the way, don't ever use that. Pulunker sucks.
Bootleg as hell. Like, you ever got a DVD from the gas station?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bootleg.
Yeah. And Sadie, you could stop recording this from here, like I guess, so we could just chill and watch the movie. I'm gonna get comfortable, get